notes. Mm-hmm. Y'all hear that train?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It never fails. Freaking trains.
Always. Always. Oof. I got my COVID and flu shot yesterday.
Hi. Hi. We're live. I didn't see any countdown. I am so sorry. Hi, everybody. My name is Jocqueline, and I am here to chat with you all about the ins, outs, and betweens of audiobooks. And I have some lovely people joining me today. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then we're going to get started. Just so you all know, although this is sort of listed as a panel, we want this to be as engaging as possible. So if you have any questions as we are going through some information, please feel free to put those in the chat and we'll be sure to answer them as we go along. All right. Again, my name is Jocqueline Portho. I am the owner of the Audio Flow, which is an audiobook production and publishing company. We work specifically with indie authors, also hybrid authors, which means that you publish traditionally and publish indie. I have an imprint, Nubian Audio, which also focuses on uplifting and amplifying the Black voice that is written as well as performance. And I am just excited to be here. Joining me today, I have two authors that I've had the pleasure of working with. So we will start with Nikki and have her introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikki Michelle. I am one half of the writing team, Noel Vella, and we write across different genres. If we think we can tackle the genre, we'll definitely write the story.
All right, and then we have Gabrielle.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, because for some reason I'm hearing audio after the fact, but I'm Gabrielle Denise Newsam. I'm one half of Noel Vella.
Don't you just love their introductions? They're like sweet and to the point. And I also have the pleasure of introducing one of the fabulous voice actor performers that I've had the pleasure of knowing. So,
Hi. So I'm Yinka Ladende, and I am a voice actor, audiobook narrator based in the San Francisco Bay Area. And yeah, just happy to be here.
says I'm on mute. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, I would like to ask if there's anybody who's actually in the audience who has had an opportunity to have their book published in audio. And if you could just put your, I would say raise your hand. I don't see that option. But if you can write a note and say, yes, I have had an opportunity to publish an audiobook. No, I have not. Or I'm an audiobook listener, or I'm just interested in learning more information. And if you have an opportunity, if you can add those comments in as I go forward with everything. So I want to give you a little bit of information about audiobooks. As you know, audiobooks is one of the is one of the fastest growing mediums for people to enjoy and listen to people's written words. I actually call it the new love language. In today's digital age, audiobooks have increasingly become a large part of the publishing industry. With Audible and other retailers, busy enthusiasts can listen to their favorite books in audio format. And so with this particular session, we just want to talk to everybody about what it actually takes to put together a successful audiobook. Some things that you should listen to or notice as red flags or green flags, that I like to call it, as you are considering publishing your book into audio. So I'm going to start with first just explaining a little bit about why I think audiobooks are important. Not just because we like to be on the go with everything, but one of the things that I always tell people to consider in publishing audiobooks is because you all have amazing stories to tell, and sometimes they need to be become accessible to everyone. A couple years ago, I had an eye surgery and I couldn't read. And I couldn't read, and I was already in this industry and working with manuscripts and everything, but I couldn't read. And I really enjoy reading. I really enjoy a good story. And it gave me a whole different outlook on why I went into this business of audiobooks, because there are people who don't have minor minimum blindness. There are people who actually are visually impaired, and they don't have an opportunity to be able to read a book. So creating an audiobook for me became a whole different process. Is I want to make sure that that person can enjoy the story just as much as I would if I was reading the book. And so there are some important things to consider when you are thinking about producing an audiobook. And so this is one of the reasons why I wanted to invite our authors to participate in this, because they can give you some information about what they actually did to make the decision if they wanted to do audio or not. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to ask the question. Gabby and Nikki write as Noelle Vella, and I've had an opportunity to work with them. But ladies, would you provide some feedback and share with the audience, why you decided to, actually put some of your titles in audio? What was the deciding factor for you?
One of the things I'm sorry about that, you guys. I'm getting weather alerts, but one of the things about wanting to hear your characters in audio, because it's something about a good narrator that can just bring a book to life. Like, you read a book, it's good, and then you get the narration and it's even better. And so we didn't have, our first experience was with a traditional publisher. And so we didn't have such a great experience. We didn't have, we can't smile and tell the stories we tell about you. When we talk about you, we're all smiles, but under that traditional contract, we didn't get to pick we got no say in the narration. We got no say in who the narrator was. We didn't even know the book was on audio actually until readers told us. But the process with the traditional publisher was just so, how can I put it? It's like they didn't care about us as the artist, as the writer, as the person who wrote the words. They just took it, ran with it, and we weren't that happy with it. I'll let Gabrielle tell you her side of it. She can better explain from her point how she felt.
Okay, can you hear me?
We'll come back to Gabby in a second, but so let's fast forward past that experience. So when you guys decided to move forward with the Witches of Sailor's Point, shameless plug out there, what did you guys sit down and think about when you said, yes, we want to put this particular book in audio? What was some of the things that you guys wrote down and said, this is what needs to happen, or this is the direction we want to go in to make that happen? Outside of because you had a bad experience the first time, so what made you decide to go back and try it again?
Well, actually, one of the things is I started following, I want to say it was the audio flow. And from the audio flow, I found Nubian audio. And for months, I was just following you guys, and I was watching the way you did promotions, and I was watching the way that you spoke about the authors that you work with under each brand. And so I went to Gabrielle and I said, hey, this is an audio publisher right here. And I like what they're doing. And I told her, I'm going to reach out to her and, see what happens. And one of the things we were looking for is we wanted a say in who we got for narrators, because 4 different characters, 4 different point of views, and we just did not want one narrator reading for the man and the woman. And so that was a major thing for us that we were looking for. We wanted to work with a production company who would take what we wanted into consideration. And that was pretty much one of the huge determining factors going into it.
And I'm glad you having a say in the narrator, because of course, not only are the written words important, but also the performance matters. And you have to have cohesiveness and a great collaboration in both of those to make your audiobooks work. So I'm glad that we have Yinka here available, because she was the chosen person to narrate part of The Witches of Salix Point. And so just to piggyback on that, Yinka, what are some, as a performer, what are some things that are deciding factors for you in accepting a project? I don't expect that all narrators just accept everything that comes to them. So with the author, what is something that, you consider before you say, yes, I'll do it?
The goal is always I want to narrate books that I would read on myself. So as much as possible, I would try to read through the synopsis to just see if it's something that I would, even as a reader or as a listener, look and say what, I'd be interested in that. So for me, that's the main goal. I know other narrators, there's different, motivations, got to make ends meet or whatever. But for me, I want it to be a book that I would enjoy myself. And then I know that I, will enjoy narrating it a lot more.
And it always makes a big difference. It always makes a big difference too, because we can tell when there's excitement in the performer, coming from the producer aspect. I can also tell when somebody is excited about it just because of the background work that they do before they go in. We call it prep, which is very important, where the performer actually does research. They read the book, they ask questions about, different aspects and things like that. And so just to kind of move forward with that, one of the things that I like to bring to authors and let them know when you are producing an audiobook, there's 2 different ways that you can do that. A lot of people usually, go into it the first thing, well, how much is it going to cost? And what is it that I need to do? There are 2 ways that you can actually produce your audiobook. Well, actually 3. The first way, we call it a do-it-yourself. Don't know how many people are familiar with platforms like ACX or Find a Way, where you would actually post up your project online and have persons reach out to you and audition. My neighbor's home, so if y'all hear a truck, that's the neighbor, his very loud truck. Sorry about that. But that's how you would work a do-it-yourself. It's where you're doing everything. So you're the casting director. You are setting how much what your budget is for that audiobook. You're listening to the auditions, and you're working directly with the performer. Another way that you can go about publishing your audiobook is selling your rights. So it would be if you have an agent that you work with, or you're reaching out to different production companies and you are selling the rights of your work in audio format only. So it's not selling, the TV or film rights or anything. It's just, I'm selling the audio rights. They will give you an advance usually, and you would receive royalties based off of that. Your rights, the publisher, a couple years ago, publishers didn't really communicate with the authors after they purchased it. Similar to the experience that Nikki had, they would just go for it and do everything. They would select the narrators. You wouldn't have any choice in that. you wouldn't have any choice in when the book released or anything. But now moving forward, publishers have gotten better with collaborating with persons that they purchase rights from and making sure that they don't have any other releases coming out at that same time. So they're working directly with them and giving the authors or clients an opportunity to weigh in on who they would like to perform their voice. And then the third option is still maintaining your own rights and working directly with a production company, i.e. somebody like me, where we would work directly with you and cast your audiobook for you. We would kind of be the liaison between you and the performer or performers, and we would handle all the casting. We'd make sure all of the work is done, post-production, everything. And once it's completed, we send it to you to review. So with that, you still have that collaboration. You're still the person that is hiring your narrator. You get final say in, who you would like to perform in the book because you own the right. So it is specifically, your work. There are lots of production companies out there that you can work with. Some people choose to do it themselves because, maybe they, the money isn't there to hire a production team to do that. Some people decide to do it themselves just so they can understand the industry a little better and then decide to go a different route later on. But that's 3 ways that you can actually get your book in audio. I want to touch a little bit on the cost of audio, because a lot of people think that audio is so expensive that, I can't afford it. And I'm not going to tell you that it's cheap because it's not. So we have Yinka here, and Yinka is a SAG-AFTRA performer. And what that means is she is a part of a union. And so most of the people that I work with are in a union. And so when we are looking at hiring talent, we have to make sure that whatever it is that we are paying them meets the union minimum, at least, because of a contract that we have. So when you're thinking about putting together a budget for your audio production, think about what is the quality that you're looking for. You can go anywhere and hire somebody. You can hire me if you want to. I'm not a professional. I would not recommend you hire me, but you can if you want to. You can hire, and some people choose to just hire somebody to do the book and then they don't like it or the quality is bad. So you definitely want to think about, what is it going to cost me to put this book together? How are prices determined? By length of the work? That's a question from Nikki Davenport. So it depends. If you are working directly with a performer, they will have their own rate. So let's say, for instance, just for purposes here, because I don't math well, we're going to say 200. So narrators are paid at per finished hour. So Yinka, in her nice booth there, may have a book that once it's done, it's a 3-hour book. But Yinka, how long can a 3-hour book take you to complete?
The recording part can take over 6 hours. I from my understanding, the average is about 2 regular hours, 2 real hours to 1 finished hour. But if you're a beginner or if you're a slow reader, it could be even longer. And that's not including anything else, like reading the book beforehand, preparing the book beforehand, editing afterwards. It doesn't even include all of that.
Exactly. So when you think about how you create your ebook or your written book, those same things, those same stages that you do for that is very similar to what happens in audiobooks. So, okay, so let's say Yinka is paid at $200 per finished hour. That means the book is 3 hours. At the end, when the book is over, is 6 hours. 3 hours. So she gets $600. Now, let's say it took Yinka 3 hours per 1 hour. So it took her 9 hours to do a 3 hour. It took her 9 hours to do a 3-hour book. Let's say Yinka isn't working with a production team and she also has to hire an editor, a proofer. Let's start with a proofer. So the proofer is the person that goes in, they listen to her audio files and they review it with the manuscript to make sure that she has not said anything that wasn't in the book. She didn't pronounce anything incorrectly, yada, yada. And then they send those back. So let's say a proofer gets $30 per finished hour. So the book is 3 hours. They get $30 per hour. What's that? $90. So they get 90. Did I math that right? They get $90. Okay. So that's $90 minus Yinka's 900. Yinka's 600, excuse me. So 600 minus her $90. Now you have to have an editor. The editor is going to go in and make sure that her levels are correct for wherever they're publishing the book, removing her dog barking in the background, the mailman ringing the doorbell, her sneeze and cough in the background or whatnot. So that person is going to go edit and then they're going to master. And let's say that person is, again, for math purposes, is $100 per finished hour. The book is 3 hours. That's $300. So now it's $390 minus the $600 that Yinka made. So what does that leave her with? 200 and something. So I say all that to say this, that audiobooks are expensive because most narrators do outsource if they are producing. So when you look at the price and they ask you how much is it going to cost, keep in mind that they're probably paying out other people as well as themselves. I always want people to keep that in mind. It's not that they're just trying to fatten their pockets. There's a lot of work that goes into it. So that's on the minimum. You have some people who use different platforms and they will go and post up a job and they'll want to do what is called a royalty share. I don't know if Gabby or Nikki had ever looked into royalty share before, or if any of you understand what that means. But usually that is where a person will put their project up online on an ACX. I think Findaway also has something similar, and you share the royalties with your performer, meaning you don't pay anything out of pocket. You guys both split the royalties 50-50. I will tell you, there's a very, very small, I can't even make this any smaller, very small amount of people who still do this, because it takes a long time to make that money back. And if you are a bestseller, you probably don't want to share your royalties. So it used to be a big thing to help people get into audiobooks, but people don't really royalty share anymore. I mean, some people do it, but most seasoned narrators do not do royalty share projects anymore. Yes, if you are looking to work with Yinka, we will make sure that you get her information, after this. She's fabulous to work with. I'll tell you, she's fabulous. All right. So
she really is. I love her as Alyssa. Yay! And Tasman.
I do too. I think she's done a fabulous job.
Thank you.
Yeah,
on both of the audiobooks.
Yes, and she's looking forward to doing book 3. So we are very excited about that. Oh, yay! That's awesome. I wanted to touch a little bit on this because some people do bring this up, where authors will consider narrating their own audiobook. I have pros and cons behind that. Of course, I never want to tell somebody what they should do, but I will tell you, narrating is not as simple as people think it is. I recorded something that was when I first bought my microphone, and I was like, I'm going to do, I don't know what I was recording. It was 1 minute and 46 seconds. 1 minute, 46 seconds. And it took me 3 hours. to record a minute. Now, that is because I had no idea what I was doing. Being a voiceover artist and a narrator is it's acting, and it's performing, and there's lots of techniques that go into it. So when clients say that I'm interested in narrating my own audiobook, there's a whole list of things I go down the line with them on. If you ever listen to yourself talk and you hear yourself do that extra, did y'all just hear it's like, I'm talking blah, blah, blah. And then you got all these inhales. Okay, when you perform, that's in there. And somebody has to go and edit that out. And it's just, performers don't do that as much. And when they do, I mean, they control it a little. Or we have that nice pop filter that she has over her mic is to help with plosives. Plosives is when you say letters and, you know, P's, and it's popping all in the microphone. So there's techniques that go into it. I will say that if you have a nonfiction book, might be slightly easier than fiction, slightly, because there's still things that you have to know about performing or reading your own book. If it is a biography or something like that, I can see a positive in that because you have a connection with the story. But it definitely will take some skill. And I would definitely say go in your closet and practice being in your closet for like hours at a time with no air conditioning or no heat, depending on where you are. And yeah, just sitting there for 2 hours. And if you can do that, no, 3 hours, excuse me, because that's like one finished hour. If you can do that, you might be well on your way. So, you know, just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so I want to get back to my authors really quick here. So Nikki and Gabby both opted to work with me again, like we had mentioned, on their project called The Witches of Salix Point. And I would like for you to talk to the audience about what was your deciding factor in the direction you decided to go with this book, whether you wanted to work with a production company, or you wanted to sell the rights, or you wanted to do it yourself. I know Nikki mentioned she had been following us on Facebook for a little while, but what thoughts went into deciding how you guys wanted to have it published?
Well, definitely we thought back to our original experience, or lack thereof, with our first book, because like you said, we weren't even consulted. We didn't know until, you know, some readers mentioned it to us. And the fact that it was such a disheartening experience, but the fact that Nicole reached out to you personally and you explained the whole process to us, that had a lot to do with the decision we made to work with you, because, you know, you basically included us in every step of the way.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, I know you mentioned about the green and the red flag. I just wanted to tell other authors out there, a green flag for us working with Jocqueline was very open and transparent about the whole thing. There was nothing hidden. There were no tricky words or underhanded processes. She was just very open, transparent. And as the author, for us, it was just like, oh my God, this is such a happy. We were so excited. And one of the things that she did that was a green flag is over, she was like, can I get can you pronounce all of these names for us? How is this pronounced? And that was just little things like that just sent us over the moon as the authors, because we was like, oh my God, because listening to our other audiobooks, and we were like, what did she just say? Because that's not how that goes, you know? And so with working with Nubian Audio, working with Yinka, working with Hollis, just Jocqueline and her team, it was just a whole bunch of green flags for us. So everything was go, go, go. We had any concerns, if we had any problems, Jocqueline always had that door open and she still does, where we can come to her and we can say, hey, this doesn't sound right. And There should be a little more emotion in this particular scene right here. All those little things add up to make a great audiobook. Still selling like hotcakes out here. So it's just a flag. The major ones is if the production company is open their process, no matter what their process is.
And you know what? I'm just going to add to that. Another green flag for me was during the audition process. I remember Nikki and I were in New Orleans at the time, but it didn't matter what time of the day or night. Jocqueline would always send over copies of people's auditions, so we'd all have an input into who would be working on the project, which I really appreciated because I know those auditions take a lot of work. And the fact that we had a huge say in who would be speaking the parts for our book really said a lot to me.
And one more quick thing before you take again, Jocqueline. I know Gabby and I went for the witches, but Jocqueline's direction, she was like, I don't think we need 4 different narrators. Let me show you something. Let me let you hear something. And at first, Gabby and I was like, oh, Lord, not again. Like, we're not about to do this again, where she's about to read. But Jocqueline came through with like 4 different like audio clips. And I'm like, wait, is these are the same 2 people reading for the other 2 people in the book? And she was like, yeah. Think you need it. And so I said all that to say is, you have a good audio producer when they can make adamant and they can produce thing, and it's just like, now we really didn't need that because this works a hell of a lot better. The green flag to look for is a production company has been in the business for a while. Do they know their stuff? And Jocqueline knows her stuff. So yeah.
That's so nice. But I appreciate that because, authors, as you are listening to this, these are things that you want to make sure that you keep in mind. These are your words, and whoever works with you, they're your partner. They should be. And everybody who's on this panel has been a partner, is a partner. We all collaborate together. We all want audiobooks to be successful. And when you have that connection with your producer and or with your narrator, who is also considered a producer if they work with you directly, then you've got somebody. And just to kind of engage a little bit more, when you guys listen to the auditions, what was that feeling that made you say, oh my God, this is the person? Because everybody who does an audiobook should have that aha moment, like they just totally nailed it. So for you guys, what was it that you heard in Yinka and Hollis that just made you say, yeah, that's it?
For me,
sorry, go ahead, Gary.
I was going to say, for me, as far as Yinka goes, it was the way that you could tell that she was differentiating between Tasman and Elisa's voice. She had an octave higher for one, an octave lower for the other, and just the emotion of the characters that, made me say, oh yeah, she can definitely nail both of these voices. For Hollis, he definitely, he definitely had more to work with because we have more male characters in the book. Because the 2 leads are women. So, we wanted to focus on the 2 women, but Hollis had so many different voices for each character. And, even with the different voices, he had different inflection, different emotion. So, he nailed it for all the male voices.
For me with Yinka, she has this, I don't know if she's from the South, but she has this sweet Southern belle thing that she does with my character, Alyssa, that just gets me going. It reminds me, it's so melodic. And I was listening to her voice and I was just like, oh my God, I don't know how she did it, but I just knew from that moment when you sent her audition over, I was like, that voice, that sweet little melodic thing that she's doing is perfect. I want her. Can we have her? And so Hollis, I'm a sucker with like the deep baritones and just switch the characters up. Great, but Hollis just floored me. Like I was just like, you know what? It's a go. Immediately go. Like don't stop. Don't collect 200. Just grab him before somebody else does, because these are our people, And so you should have seen us back over, because we like go nowhere else. So those
and it was amazing because he said, that was his first book that he had done a full British character that wasn't a secondary character, and you would never know that. And I'm going to ask Yinka a question here in a second, but authors, that's one of the things that you should keep in mind when you are looking to do your audiobook is, do you have that excitement that they just share it with you when that audition comes in? Usually when I listen to auditions, I close my eyes. And I tell people I close my eyes, because if I can stay engaged in what that person is selling me in this story and not fall asleep, then I definitely have somebody. Now, if I close my eyes and I kind of drift off and I start thinking about, man, I need to go pick up dog food today, and did I take the clothes out the jar, then that means that they didn't hold my attention. And that's probably going to be the same thing that's going to happen with your listeners. And so I always say, lead with your ears, because your ears is going to tell you what it is that you're listening for. And so, Yinka, when we sent out, and I'm going to get to your question in a second, Nikki, when we reached out to Yinka, and I don't even think I told her to audition for both characters. I think, do you remember? You're on mute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it did say audition for both characters, and I was just like, okay, let me channel my friend, and then will be me. Like,
yes, tell us about like what gets you into the mindset to perform. What's your research like? Because they think you from the South. She ain't from the South.
I am not from the South. I am not.
Oh my God, she just did it. Do y'all hear that?
Well, I cast my characters. I try to, after I read read the audition, or if I know who the character is supposed to be, then I'll take people from my life or people that I know about, maybe on TV or something like that, and I will try to take the essence of that person and put it into that character. And yeah, that's how I do it, casting the characters in that way.
And you do such a great job with it. And this is why, when I put that audition out, usually a casting director, unless they just have no idea what they're looking for, I invite people that I think is going to fit what it is that I'm looking for, and what our team is looking for in the character. And Yinka, this was her first audiobook, and I was just so excited to be her first. So yay us. And she has gone on to do great things. You can probably catch her into some video games, probably, I think. And you got to show everybody that commercial with the cell phone, because her in commercial. She does oh my God, she does, and follow her on TikTok, because she's just amazing. But again,
they need to see her video with her booth. How she decorated.
Yes, go and see go follow Yinka everywhere. Just do it. But the important, again, like I said, is what your sound like. Those nuances that they have. And as a casting director, I don't always give all of that information to the performers, because I want to see what they're going to pick out of there and have some type of creative control. And then I take that and say, oh yeah, they really did that. They gave me something more than I expected that I was going to get. And then that's when you know, hey, I've got somebody that's going to really make this book pop. We do have a question from Nikki Davenport. It says, thank you for the explanation on pricing. How much would you recommend an author budget for an audiobook? Do it yourself and production company, please. Okay, so we'll start with that first question. All right, so I will tell you the minimum SAG-AFTRA rate, if you were going through ACX, used to be $250 per finished hour. The thing with ACX and that $250 per finished hour is that would include the performer, like doing everything. So that's the editing, all the post-production and everything. The SAG rates increased this year. So I don't think it's still $250. It might be like $265 or something like that. So I would use that as a bare minimum of $265 per finished hour for a do-it-yourself. But more than likely, you'll probably end up with someone who is probably newer, and it's probably going to take them longer to get you the book. And it doesn't mean that their performance is bad. It just means that most seasoned performers aren't even on ACX, basically. So if you are looking at $265 per finished hour, and how you can determine how much your book is going to cost, you're going to take your word count and you're going to divide that by 9,300. You can do 93 to 9,500. So if you divide your word count by 9,300, which they estimate is the amount of words a person can speak or perform in an hour, you take that total and then you word count 90, and then you multiply it by the 265. So if I get my calculator out and I say your book is 80,000 words, I told you I don't math. That's why my calculator is right here. 80,000, I'm going to divide it by 9,300. I'm going to get 8.6. We do everything in decimal hours. So that's 8.6 decimal hours. And I'm going to multiply that by 265. You're looking at $2,279 for that book. On a very low end, on a do-it-yourself, if you are using a platform like ACX. I'm very transparent with my. I will tell you that I upped my rates for our production right now. If it's single POV, which I was going to get into later, but if it's one narrator and they're narrating the entire book, every character in that book, it's going to be $460 per finished hour. So your book is 80,000. Well, we said it was 8.6 times 460. So you're looking at $39.56 plus there's a producer's fee. So I won't tell you what that is, but just know you're probably going to look at do it yourself. It might cost you $2,500 to use a producer for a book that length. You're probably looking at closer to $5,000. So again, that's something that you have to budget. Most production companies, well, I will say me because I can't speak for everybody else, but we do offer payment plans for people. I work with people on how to budget out their project. Maybe you want a duet project. I'll talk about that in a second. And that duet project is going to cost you $7,000. Okay, well, let's look at another option and maybe do it at dual, or we schedule it out that we're going to have your project due next year. So it gives you time to actually save money, because again, it's an investment. You get what you pay for. I guess, it's cliche, but it's very true. You get what you pay for. And if you're investing in the quality of your audiobook as much as you invest in it as an ebook or a paperback, then you want to make sure that that audiobook has the same quality as everything else that has your name on it. Okay. Can you give a range idea? I gave you a lot of talk. So yes, I'm glad that helped you out. Again, one of the little PowerPoint things I have here as my cheat sheet is really counting the cost, because books, like I said, is an investment, and you want to be sure that you can afford it. Don't settle on a narrator or a production company because their rate is easier for you to come up with. It's always quality over quantity. It's a disservice to you and to your listeners if you just decide, I'm just going to do an audiobook just because I'm going to do an audiobook and everybody keeps asking me about it and I really don't care who does it. I always tell people, if that's going to be the attitude, I definitely would not do an audiobook. All right, so I see some questions in the Q&A. Tanya says, do you record the narration and voices separately, then edit together, or switch as you go? And I'm going to give that question to Yinka, and then I will tell you about the editing process when we're doing it as duet or multi-cast.
So the narration, I mean, there's the book and you narrate the book. And so if it is a duet, so the duet is is like with Witches of Salix Point, it's a duet. So Hollis did all the male voices, every single male voice, and I did every single female voice. So in the chapter, I would narrate, and then every single time, I actually have it here. Every single time a male was going to talk, I click. This is a dog clicker. And that would indicate to the editor that that's where they insert Hollis's male voice into it. And then there were chapters that were in the male point of view. And so for those chapters, I would just record the female dialogue. So it was almost like a play where I'm just saying dialogue from whichever female character it is. Yeah.
I'm glad that you have a dog clicker, because that works. Some people do a snap, some people clap, some people do the click. And again, like she said, it's a marker. So they do record separately. This is only important for duet and multicast. Duet is when there's two narrators, and like Yinka said, I used to say it's like the male reading the male and the female reading the female, but really it could just be based off of what characters are assigned. I've had some female characters who were assigned little kid boy voices. So it's based on what our prep is. So we send that in and they record it separately. In editing, the editor goes in and she takes the script and listens to, that's a lot of work. She takes the script and she's inserting them into a main file and merging all of those together. And then she also has to go in the editing and make sure that their sound tones match. So because they're recording in two separate spaces, they have what we call room tone. And so the room tone has to match so that when the book goes out, you can't tell that they're recording in two separate spaces. That's just a little inside thing there. Tanya also asks, okay, that was the same question. We just got back to it. So how do you know if you have the right voice? You have a great voice. Did you ever use a voice coach? Yinka.
A voice coach. I mean, I've coached. I did a lot of coaching. Especially initially, mainly though for other types of voiceover. I am obsessed with audiobooks. I've been listening to them since books on tape. So I always say that I've been training for this day because I was just so obsessed with it. I, single-handedly kept Audible going. So I'd listened to so many audiobooks that by the time I actually jumped into narrating myself, because I kind of have a background in like acting and stuff, I knew what audiobooks were supposed to sound like. And so taking that background, because I've taken acting classes, especially mostly in high school mainly, but because I have that background in acting and I knew what audiobooks were supposed to sound like, I just put the two together. And then it was mainly just like figuring out, you know, technical things like how to, you know, run the recording equipment and stuff.
And she also sings, and breathing techniques are very important to audio. So I find that a lot of people who have a vocal background as far as singing, they understand the breathing techniques from the diaphragm. They know where to breathe in a sentence, that it's like not in the middle. Like when I do things that are run out of breath, you'll start thinking about this now, you guys, when you start talking, and you'll say, gosh, that was a long sentence and I needed to take a breath. And then again, that goes to one of those things when I mentioned about people self-narrating, is you got to know how to breathe. I mean, as authors, you guys should read your sentences and think that this person has to narrate this sentence, and it's like 5 lines long. Like the poor person has no place. They have no place to breathe. But it's just interesting things that you think about when you go into audio. Writing for audio, I think I had told Savannah we were going to like try to do a podcast about that sometime, because the way that we write for people to read the book is very different than how it comes out on audio. But that's for another day. Jennifer, I'm going to come back to your question posted about getting into the field. Give me a second. Stephanie asked Yinka, when you have 2 characters, do you read them separately or as you go? And if it's in a single POV, she's definitely just going to read them straight through. So it's not going to be separate, because that's more work for it doesn't make any sense if she's performing everybody. If she's doing a duet or multicast, for instance, like she mentioned, her character shows up in somebody else's chapter, then she will do a slate and say, I'm reading Jane chapter, whatever, and then she'll start. We ask that they read all the characters that's in that chapter in one file, and then we go ahead and edit it in. So sorry, I'm not Yinka, but I answered that question for you. All right, Jennifer wants to know how you get into this field. I'm going to give you some information on that, because we get asked this question a lot. I always say there's a couple things to think about before you decide that you want to jump into being. First, I'm assuming she's saying, how do you get into being a narrator and not a producer? Because nobody wants to be a producer. But anyway, so one of the things that I always tell people is to start with research, because it looks very lucrative. It looks like it could be simple, and it's not. It's not simple at all. Do your research. If you don't listen to audiobooks, definitely listen to audiobooks. I would say actually follow narrators. All the other stuff comes in with, like, getting a coach and, making sure you have the right equipment. But there are so many things that go into it before you even get to that step, because you might find out you don't like it. The great Sean, is it Sean or Johnny Heller? One of them. Sean, I think it's Sean. Always says, if you want to find out if you are cut out to be a narrator, it might have been Johnny because he's funny. Just go sit in the closet, like I mentioned earlier, with your clothes on in the closet for 3 hours with your favorite book. It was Sean, with your favorite book, and read for 3 hours in the closet. If you can come out of there unscathed and saying, yes, I think I want to do this, then you are on your way. There are also some good resources. We talked about ACX earlier. ACX has what's called ACX University. You can go to, it's acx.com. In there, they have what you would need to become a narrator. They have specs. They tell you about different tools and resources you can use. There's lots of videos on YouTube about how to become an audiobook narrator. I would say definitely look into those things. And then as you do your research and you decide that's something you want to do, then you can invest in equipment and set up your recording space. You can't sit in an office like I'm doing because the sound is going to bounce off the walls. You'll see Yinka has her studio there. She's got the absorption panels there. That's what gives her that particular sound. So I would never record a book in my office because you can hear the echo. So there's things in there that tells you about how to set up a closet or using the mattress and, you know, all kind of funky stuff they have in there. And then, you know, you go from there, and then there are places that will allow you to narrate once you have those things. And a lot of people use them for practice. So I think people still do Learning Ally, maybe. So some people do Learning Ally. Some people volunteer with School for the Blind. They do audiobooks. Or you can get your favorite book on a public domain and narrate it, because, you know, it's a public domain book. You don't have to ask for rights for that. But if you want more information, I think we're supposed to do another Q&A session after this. And Yinka could probably give you some more information. Again, she didn't start like most other people, because, again, her background, I think, started in voiceover. And voiceover and audiobook narration is two different sides of the fence, sort of. So she does, you'll hear her in some commercials and stuff. But last thing I want to share with you guys before we leave, I want to thank both of my my partners here, Nikki and Gabby of Noel Vela. If you are interested in hearing Witches of Salix Point, please feel free to go and see it on and download it on Audible. They did such an amazing job. I'm just going to tell people, they did such an amazing job with marketing that book that the third month, the book, we sold, shoot, how many copies was it? Like 4,000, 3,000 copies. Never happened to me in my life. Never. I'm just going to tell y'all, it made, I mean, it was like $13,000. It made it. I just, you know, great marketing.
I don't know why there's an echo playing, so I'm sorry about that. But I think one of the things for us, because we didn't do the half and half split with you, because you produced it yourself, you took a chance on us. I think for us, we were just like, oh no, we got to get this book to sell. You know, I don't care how much we got, you know, what we got to do. We got to numbers, this audio, the actual book, the ebook and the paperback, you know, they were doing their thing, but the audio book just came in with the production and with the narration from Yinka, and just came together so perfect. So marketing was a breeze when you got a team like Jocqueline was behind us.
Yes, definitely keep that in mind. The name of the book is called The Witches of Salix Point. So it's SALIX, and point has an E on the end.
And it was actually done, I did it in my pseudonym. So if you see Hazel Addison, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so don't say, oh, I thought Yinka was doing the book. No, it's still her. It's still her. So again, I want to thank you all for joining us on this session. I don't know what we're supposed to do after this, if we're supposed to leave and go somewhere else, but just want to give you my contact information, and then I'll have everybody else give their contact information so you know how to reach us. You can reach me at J Portho. As you can see, my last name is somewhere on here. So J Portho at nubianaudio.com. I think I might have added it to my profile, or you can find me anywhere on social media. This sounds so vain, but you can Google me and still find me. Freaking Google. But you can, I mean, I'm not that special or anything, but it's nice to know that you could just tell somebody to go Google our names and you can find it. I own the Audio Flow. Nubian Audio is an imprint, but I use simultaneously. And then yes, okay, Nikki wrote her stuff. So Noel Vela, you can find them everywhere. And Yinka, you want to pass out your information?
My website is www.yinkasvoice.com, and then on every platform it's Yinka's Voice, at Yinka's Voice.
At Yinka's Voice.
For
Great.
social media, yeah.
If you could be Googled, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Hey.
All right. All right, again, thank you so much. Thank you to Black Ink for Black Ink Charleston African American Book Festival. We are so excited that we had an opportunity to share and spend time with you. I will be doing a pitch session on Saturday at 10. It's somewhere on the schedule. Sorry, it's on the schedule. I'll be there. So if you've got, if you have any books you want to pitch to us,
I'm coming. I'm gonna pitch. I'm coming.
Then definitely feel free to come and hang out with me on Saturday. It will be virtual, but I will see you all in person next year. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.